Hello there. It's time for Most Things Kenobi.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Most Things Kenobi, a podcast about Obi-Wan Kenobi and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Leanne.
And I'm your host, Lauren.
And this week, Cassian Andor took his shirt off.
He did, and I have been able to think of nothing else.
Same. We hate to be those bitches.
I had no idea you were going to start with that thing. God bless you.
Oh, sorry. I just pulled that right out there. Surprise.
Oh my God.
No, we're talking about Andor episode 7, correct?
Yes. That was all I remember from the episode.
Same. That was it. No, there were important parts in this episode that we're going to go over because we have f***ing feelings about all of them.
I felt a lot of emotion in this episode.
I went through several phases.
Yeah. I was sad during much of it.
I was really sad.
Yeah, it was sad.
And I was also confused, which you and I talked about privately. Mm-hmm. Not my confusion, but the episode. We talk about my confusion separately all the time.
We had a talk.
Okay, so tell me about some of the parts that had you feeling emotions. Because, like we said, there were plenty, and I have my thoughts. I'm sure we'll have similar thoughts.
Yeah. I feel like anything I pick, I don't want to minimize anything. Like the whole episode felt important. Not. But yeah. I really started to feel like I might unravel during Cassian's flashbacks when he was running through the town square.
Oh, God. And what you posted on Instagram.
I know. Oh, my God. And I didn't even think of that. Someone posted it on Tumblr, and it just hit me in the solar plexus.
And it was the Saw Gerrera reference. One man with a sharp stick can save the day.
Yes. And nothing left to lose. The quote?
Yeah. With nothing left to lose, can steal the day or something.
And they posted that with a picture of Cassian as a teenager holding that pipe up, like charging the troopers. And I was just...
See, that's what makes Star Wars great right there.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
That particularly made me sad because I thought maybe Clem was doing something with the rebellion or like, you know, whatever the precursor to the rebellion was, obviously, because it didn't like fully exist yet. It turns out he was trying to stop people from throwing stones at a soldier or at a group of soldiers. So he was an innocent bystander who was actually trying to do a good thing. He was being a good Samaritan.
He was.
Like, I feel like crying just talking about it. It's too tragic.
It's a product of a greater symptom that the Empire is like shoot first, ask questions second. If they'd have just taken some time, just any time at all, just evaluate the situation beyond a first glance, they would have seen that he wasn't the rebel rouser that they thought, and a life could have been spared. But it wasn't. It was made an example for absolutely no reason at all, and it was the wrong example.
Yeah.
It was a needless death, as so many of them are under the Empire's reign. And look at how many lives it affected. It affected Cassian, obviously. It affected the entire town, and it affected Maarva. And that was the part where I felt the most emotion in the entire episode, because when she said that she finally had enough courage to walk through that part of the street where they hung that man and shot him.
Yes.
The personal, just the strength. You know what that's like? Where you have a thing, but then you get over that thing, and it's such a triumph to you.
Yeah.
But nobody else knows about it.
Fiona Shaw's performance was, I felt it. She's real.
When she said, and he's like, but I'm going to think about you every day. I'm going to worry about you. And her delivery of the line was like, well, that's just love. What can we do about that? Mm-hmm. It was so beautifully written.
Yeah.
And like, I felt that. There's nothing you can do about that.
No, that's just love.
He loves her. She loves him. It's just love. That's nothing to be ashamed of. And she was proud of him. She understood it because she loves him too. Oh, God. And then there's Emo, which I don't want to talk about because I'm too fragile. But Maarva is an incredibly strong woman. And it's kind of a dichotomy to her having to use a cane, and she's given the image of frailty, but no, she's a tough bitch.
Yes.
Like, I would walk behind her anywhere, because her spirit, I don't know, that whole thing moved me in ways that I was not expecting.
Me too. And it's such an unexpected scene. The writing is like, it's so special because 9 times out of 10, Cassian would be like a rebellious kid and his mom loves him, but God, but do they butt heads? And they don't. Mm-hmm. Like, he loves her, she loves him. He says, like, I don't understand, but it's never like, well, go to hell then, I'm doing what I want. You know, it's like they didn't know. Once again, they don't send the scene into a place that most writers would send it. They keep it on this like humane side where it's so real. Like, these are like real conversations that you would see between two people who cannot be on the same path anymore, but still like really love each other. And like she said, you can't stay and I can't go. We're just at this crossroads.
That hit me.
Me too. And like, I'm feeling emotional just thinking about the scene now because both of their performances were just so truthful, and it makes me feel a lot of emotions.
Without a doubt, everything you said is correct. But I just loved also the flicker of a moment. And this goes straight to Diego Luna's ability to act and his facial range of acting. When she's talking kind of hurriedly about, did you hear about Aldani or, you know, the siege or whatever they did, and that's what we need more of. And for a second it looked like Cassian was gonna like be ashamed of it, but then he realized Maarva was proud of what happened, and there was like almost a surprised smirk, like he wanted to like tell her. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how many times they filmed that, but it like that came so easily. It looked like it came easily to Diego Luna, but he was going through so many emotions in that moment. He wasn't even talking because she wouldn't kind of let him in to talk. And then he made that little like almost bashful, like, oh man, I had something to do with that, and she's proud of that. Like, it was all in his face all at once, and what an incredible scene.
I know. Both those actors just blow my fucking mind. Because she's
so
the way
good.
When she said the line, it's probably doomed, but I'm too old and I don't care.
Yes.
It's so believable the way they both just together. I don't know. These two actors are not people I would ever have pictured doing scenes together, and they are so perfect.
And I loved also, to your point, that Fiona doesn't cry, but she gets there. She shakes, her voice wobbles, like her arms shake, or she's trying to hold it in or something, and it's building, but she doesn't let it creep out. Yeah. And then her eyes are watery, but she's not in full crying mode. Yeah. Because she's tough. This is a woman we don't know much about, but I know one thing is she is tough. What we see in this scene speaks such volume for the entire Star Wars franchise. From the trilogy, the original trilogy, to Rebels, Clone Wars, prequels, sequels, everything. The theme of they take everything away from you and all you want is control of something.
Yes.
And in Maarva's case, she wanted control to just walk around that corner where they hung her husband. And now she's too old to care, right? But she wants control to go out the way she wants, not to have them dictate how she's going to live, or she's not going to escape. She's going to stay right there. And some would say that's foolish, but when it's that white knuckle gripped by the Empire and they're closing in on all sides, I think it's brave to stand your ground. You know what I mean?
And I think it shows an enlightenment that, because Cassian says, like, you can live under that. And she says they can't take away what's in my mind.
Yes. Yes.
That to me was like life goals.
We have to remember that.
Yeah. The parallel where she says, tell me you understand, and he says, I don't. Jin's father says, tell me you understand, and she says, I understand, Papa, and he gives him a hug. And it's just like, in the book, in the Rogue One book, it says she says, I understand, even though she doesn't. She doesn't actually understand, but that's what her father wants to hear, so she says it. And again, another example of Jin and Cassian having just like completely parallel existences.
They're space twins in the way that you and I are across the miles. You know what I mean?
They are. They have like the same background and the same outlook on life, and then they both change in the same way. It's amazing. I'm eating this shit up. It's keeping me alive.
And then he took his shirt off.
Yes, and then I died. It kept me alive until it killed me dead. So.
Well, we didn't get it with Kenobi. But I'll take the crumbs they threw at us with Diego Luna in a shower. And his fluffy hair.
Yeah, dear Lord. And he buffed up. He's not always that muscular, so that was
Those
very
biceps
deliberate.
were large. And he's a small dude.
He is, yeah. And like even in Rogue One, there was some picture, like behind the scenes picture I saw of him where he had just like a tank top on. Mm-hmm. He has no muscles like this. This was like a very deliberate decision, and I am very grateful to the Star Wars people.
Well, I mean, Ewan was training and he got all buff, and then he didn't take his shirt off.
No, well, I mean, he was in the Bacta tank, but that's not sexy.
That doesn't. No.
That's not what we had in mind. I mean,
no.
We'll take it, but you misunderstood the assignment.
Yes, Anakin with his robe in the bedroom where he takes it and slips it on, and his entire ab package is on display with that metal arm.
To be totally like vapid and vacant, look, they hire some of the most beautiful men on the planet for this Star Wars universe, but like they only put Carrie Fisher in a gold bikini.
Yes,
so
correct.
Come on, equity.
They've got some. Yeah, absolutely. They've got some making up to do. They've got some ground to cover here to make up for it. But that all aside, We'll get to that scene because it was my least favorite. And I don't mean the shirtless, but it was part of my least favorite. We have a lot of ground to cover as far as let's go to our queen. Not Maarva, but Queen. What's her name?
Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma. Maarva, Mothma. Because, oh my God, so good.
I'm like speechless. The scene.
Her performance, Genevieve, flawless.
Perfect.
If I could emulate that at any work function, just smile. Remember to smile. Smile. Don't forget to smile.
Oh my God.
I loved every second. You want to talk about real? That's real life shit.
Yes.
She's got people crawling all around her. Her husband's lingering and listening and creeping. And you don't know who to trust. And she's trying to test her bestie from back in the day to see if she can trust him. And even so, I was like, be careful. Be careful. You don't know.
Yeah. And she was.
I mean,
she even said, she's like, I'm not going to answer your question.
Yeah.
That had one of the best pieces of dialogue ever. And it was the kind of thing where it makes you like hate yourself because you didn't come up with it yourself. When she said,
a writer's problem.
Yeah. When she said, if I show you the rock in my hand, you'll miss the knife at your throat.
Yes. Yes.
And that Palpatine taught her that. I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God.
That was essentially everything he did.
Yes.
All through the Clone Wars, Palpatine.
Yeah. And that
being a Palpatine.
She's wise to it and using it. Oh my God. Everything about her is so interesting and brilliant and scary. Like, I fear for her, even though we know she ends up in Return of the Jedi. But it's like, something horrible is going to happen.
Yeah, how does she get from there to here? So I mentioned to you that I understood. This is how I interpreted it. I could be way the off. I interpreted her talking to her bestie. I don't remember his name, but, you know.
I don't either.
Dude from Chandrilla. When she referred to her husband, I got the sense that she is plotting to kill the man or have him removed. He will no longer be an issue, we'll say. Mm-hmm. Did you get that? Because you said to me when I told you that, you're like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
No, I don't think so because she's so moral.
Oh, but if you stare at the rock in her hand, you're going to miss the knife at her husband's throat.
True. But I think what I got from the scene is that she doesn't trust him at all, and she's using him as a cover and protection from the Empire.
Okay, so I went way overboard. I jumped right off that rock.
I mean, what was it about it that made you think that? I'm open to having my mind changed because I hate her husband.
You saw the way they filmed it. She and the friend are sitting on the couch, and the positioning of her husband and that hallway, that arched hallway, and her husband and the guest that he was speaking to were dead center, right? And I took it as a symbol of like, he's in the middle of everything she's trying to do, and she's playing it smart. She knows he's in on it. She knows he's watching her, so she's got to get rid of him. Like, sometimes her ruthlessness isn't what you expect. Like, perhaps my politics could be a little strong for you, for your taste.
I suppose. I mean, that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, because what she was saying to her friend implied that it was all financial, that she was trying to, like, have access to her funds, which I'm assuming.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
How did she not? Since they're her own families, does it have something to do with her marriage or something to do with the Empire?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I can totally see it.
I am fully invested, honestly, in every single plot line that's going on in this show. I have a vested interest now. Like
I'm all in on Mon Mothma, and I am all in on Deidre in the Empire.
Oh my
Laying
God.
the f***ing smack down on her counterpart there. She came prepared, and the way they filmed it with her getting her suit on and tightening the collar and tightening the belt and walking with purpose. Oh, I loved that. I loved every second of that.
So I saw somebody posted something that said, like, it had the picture of two sets of fans, and one was like clapping, and one was like cheering, like standing up cheering, and they're like, we want lightsaber battles, and then they're like, no, we want ISB conference room meetings. And
yes.
Like, yes.
That's the real battle, everybody.
Seriously.
You have to be well trained to take someone down in that room and gain respect.
Yes.
Right?
I think it's 1,000,000% proof that we are much more satisfied by the story-driven than the action-driven TV shows or movies. I mean, the fact that we're literally watching a conference room of people, it's like we're watching a corporate meeting, and I couldn't look away. It was so good. It was so good.
Yes, and you do know that was Yularen.
I didn't until you said it. I did no clue.
Yularen.
That kind of breaks my heart a bit.
It makes me really sad. It makes me really sad. You see him on the bridge with Anakin in the Clone Wars, and everyone's fine, and, you know, and then there he is, restricting everything and taxing everyone and being a d***, and it's like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Oh, right, Palpatine.
Yeah, I guess what choice does he have, right? It's the kind of thing where you change allegiances to keep yourself alive, I guess. But he seemed to be enjoying himself, and that's that he believed what he was saying was the right thing, you know, that to tighten the grip and punish people for their infractions. Yeah, that was really sad. It was really sad.
I hate seeing that. I hate seeing what they once were and then what they became, you know?
But it was also cool to see after that scene, Deidre saying they're playing into the rebels' hands by doing this. Yeah. She's so smart.
How does she know all this stuff? Question mark.
Oh man,
was she a part of it at one point?
Or I don't know, because they imply she came from somewhere else, like maybe local police or something, and like entered the ISB that way. But
so she's just real good.
Well, and somebody on our Patreon group was saying that they find themselves rooting for her, which I do too, which ultimately it's like, she's
strange?
She's going to be the one to like take down the people we love. So it's very interesting how they're playing all these perspectives. And like I said, I'm invested in all of them. They all have their own, what they perceive as their own legitimate point of view. And the writers are able to make me see their point of view every single time.
It's really good.
I'm starting to have theories on how they're going to start tying their plot lines together. Because right now they're so disparate that like I can't see how they'll converge. There seems to be tension between Luthen and Mon Mothma. And then there's the stuff going on with the ISB. And then they're intercutting Cyril in there.
Yes, let's go back to Luthen and Mon Mothma.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
I found this very, very interesting. You said it. Mon Mothma is obviously a very more patient long game, slow, methodical, and he is willing to risk it all to get money fast to bust open the door that the rebellion is happening. Look at us. What's interesting is that Luthen, his thinking worked, right? It got the Empire to be more strict, which then helps them out in a way, they explained. Mm-hmm. Mon Mothma has her doubts. But I thought it was very interesting that he was already one step ahead of the Empire.
Yeah, he was like forcing their hand because he...
Yeah, have we ever seen that?
No, and I think that could be a moment that's kind of lost because literally him doing that sets the foundation for all the rest of Rogue One and the original trilogy and everything that comes after because
Correct.
He formed the structure of the rebellion by doing this. And if Mon Mothma had had her way, they might have had an entirely different kind of rebellion.
And it may have come at the cost of building and completing and losing more planets than Alderaan to the Death Star.
Right.
Like, it could have been more tragedy. I mean, the whole thing is tragic, but I got to give Luthen credit for seeing that far in advance what this would do and how it would help them. And kudos. Again, Skarsgård, amazing performance. Love him.
In that scene, to be going back and forth between smiling and like talking very intensely.
So
and
hard.
So talented.
I just, and Mothma, she stayed turned away from the driver because the driver's in on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And every time Luthen turned towards Mon Mothma, he had a smile and was talking, quote unquote,
yes,
about the object in case there was lip reading. Because, those guys are all trained in that.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
I have a question for you. So,
yeah, what's up?
His flower cutter or whatever, like his assistant, is the one who went to meet Vel out in the middle of Coruscant, which I loved seeing that walking around the city.
I didn't know that was her.
Yeah, I wasn't sure at first. And then I was like, is it her twin sister?
Yeah, I was like I was lost for the first 30 seconds of her strut through Coruscant. And then I was like, oh, I get it. Okay.
Well, then she meets up with Vel, who I've heard people say they didn't know it was her until she spoke because she looked so different. And she looks wealthy. She looks like a refined woman. So it'd be very interesting to see where she is in the hierarchy, in Coruscant. But their conversation was kind of interesting because some people were saying that they thought they looked like sisters.
I thought that.
I thought, they didn't make it clear. And I was looking for any kind of hidden language there. And I didn't pick up on anything. There was implication kind of that Luthen is Vel's father, sort of.
Yes, sort of. Because she said, I really expected him to be here. As if...
Exactly.
I mean, that's not something like a teammate says.
Right. Or someone who hires you.
Yeah. You do it quietly, you get it done, you disappear, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It implies some sort of connection. Exactly. Then I was kind of wondering, the first time I listened to it, it kind of sounded like Luthen's assistant. It almost sounded like she was maybe diverging from Luthen, going behind his back. I wasn't sure if I read that scene correctly.
Because of her implication in removing or getting rid of Cassian?
Kind of that, yeah. And something she said about the money. I don't know. And this is what a rebellion looks like. Almost like Luthen isn't going far enough. But I'm not sure I read that correctly because the next time I watched it, I was like, well, now I'm not sure what the hell she's talking about.
Well, I thought it was a little extreme that she went that route. I also thought it was very nice that Vel asked about Cinta.
Oh, yeah.
Who's still there, by the way. She hasn't gotten off of Aldhani yet.
Yeah.
And that goddamn Star Destroyer is creeping.
And if you heard the wireless that Luthen was listening to, they're saying that all those tribes people, the Dani, or whatever they're called, that they're now being held for questioning. The local populace is being treated badly because it seemed like they were in on it with the rebels. It started to really hit me how even the people who worked at the dam, they were also being held for interrogation by ISB. They said all of that on this wireless radio that Luthen was listening to. And it's like, even the people that had nothing to do with it, there's consequences. The people who are actually opposed to it are experiencing consequences. It's just like a ripple effect. So even though like it must be done, you know, the rebellion must happen if you want to break this empire, it's going to destroy innocent bystanders. There's going to be a lot of collateral damage. And that, it's again that question that we come upon all the time in Star Wars: does the end justify the means?
Well, you could also look at it this way. They're either going to be destroyed by the Empire anyway, or used and destroyed, in your point, the means justifying the ends, which I don't know if there is a good answer for that. I don't know if there ever is. There's never going to be no casualties.
Right.
When it comes to fighting for something of this grandeur, of this size, of this magnitude.
Yeah.
It's a shame because that was probably the last eye that those natives will ever see because of this.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that. I hate how it ties into the history of our own planet and society and what we've done to native tribes and cultures.
Yeah.
There's just no good answer to any of it.
Right.
But I honestly, to go back to your question about the two, the dark-haired and Vel, I get the sense that they know each other better than just teammates. I just got the sense that, are they sisters?
Yeah.
Because they're talking like they both know a lot. They're both not saying a lot. And they're both very connected to Luthen, which I always wondered in the beginning, in the first few episodes, why does he trust this girl so much? What would make sense if this girl was his daughter too?
Yes, I've had that thought too.
You know, and she could dye her hair so they don't look related or something, and he wears that wig, and
yeah, they're all just wearing wigs.
Yeah, the weaves in Coruscant cannot be beat.
The best of the best.
Yes. Well, I mean, they're all just trying to be Padme at the end of the day.
Right. Good
trying
luck.
and failing. Yeah, exactly.
Padme and Kenobi, big shoes to fill for hair. So
yeah,
or big wigs to fill. I don't know, but so when she was going through Coruscant, she stopped on that little chalk mark on the floor.
Yes.
Some people have said, is that Red Dawn or something like that? Do you know what that is? I've never even heard of that.
I do not know. That is not something I had considered.
Oh, Crimson Dawn. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Crimson Dawn.
I was like, Red Dawn. I'm pretty sure it's a movie about North Korea. So
red at night is Sailor's Delight. Red in the morning is Sailor's Warning. Same thing.
Okay, so Crimson Dawn is Kira from Solo and Maul and all that.
Correct. Yes.
So
right.
The symbol did look enough. Like if you were to draw the symbol in chalk, it might look like that. So I was wondering, are they going to tie this shit together?
Well, how on earth could they be tied together? Crimson Dawn was not good.
Right. I know. But like maybe financially, I don't know. Because sometimes, a lot of times in war, you fund your efforts through crime.
Yeah. But, I mean, they just stole a bunch of credits from the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, and the truth is, I think they did that more as, like, to force them to tighten their grip.
Yeah,
and
that's
that,
true.
like, the money was secondary. But isn't it funny? Like, one of our first episodes, we were talking about Andor. We were saying, like, Maul is out there in this universe roaming around.
We did say this.
It would be so crazy if he ends up in this show. I will lose my because
I'm not prepared for this yet.
I'm not either. And they've been telling everybody this show's not fan service. We're not doing this. So then if like something like that happens, I might lose my mind. But
I mean, I would not be upset to see Kira again because I love me some Emilia Clarke.
Oh, she's awesome.
And she did a wonderful job in that role. And I am still curious as to WTF, what her life is and how she's involved and all that. So maybe we'll get, I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't eat. Well, and There was the previous reference where Cassian said he was on Mimban, which is where Solo... Well, it doesn't start there, but Han Solo is there. I don't know. If they're going to try and force people to like Solo, they might have trouble.
Well, no, but I could see them trying to connect.
Yeah.
Especially with finances. The finance thing makes the most sense.
It was an interesting observation.
I didn't even think to notice the marking, but that is interesting. Speaking of prisons, Cassian gets thrown in one.
Yeah, that was sudden.
This is the scene I liked the least. Number one, I had no idea what the was going on. Was it present day? Was it a flashback?
Yeah.
Did it matter? Like, what happened, etc.?
I felt the same.
But then we see the K units.
Yes.
Their title. The K units, the Ks start.
Yeah, the K2SO replicas.
Yeah. So the way they introduced that one dragging bodies up, I said, oh, well, here we go. I mean, here we go. Because not Cassian, K2 would actually do that willingly.
Right.
Like, he would drag Jin and Cassian, if he had to, by the collars of their shirt if he needed to in a later life. You know what I'm saying? So I could totally see it. I really hated everything about this scene. I shouldn't say hate. It was very abrupt. It was very sudden.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was thrust at us. I was spent most of the scene trying to figure out what exactly am I looking at? Where are we? Present day, not present day. But the interesting thing is, and I learned this from a Screen Rant video that I watched on recapping the episode, is that when they stamp Cassian's, basically like his prison card, the Arabesh is incorrect. It's someone else's sentence. So...
Really?
So either it's a mistake on the filming and editing, which doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
Or he was given somebody else's sentencing, and that will play into something in the future. Because they very, very clearly show her scraping and like stamping that thing, and it's a clear view, which they wouldn't do
on accident.
You know, but on accident.
Yeah.
And it's somebody else's name.
It's not his fake name?
Force sensitive. No, it's a force sensitive individual.
What?
So the question brought up in the Screen Rant video, I did not come up with this on my own, but I wanted to discuss it with you and our audience because I find it's crazy. Why would they send any force sensitive individual to prison? They would just kill him or send him to the Inquisitors, right?
That's weird. What the
Why would they put that on the thing? The little stampy thing.
That's crazy. How did you know that? Because it says on there that they're force sensitive, like right on the card?
If you interpret the Arabesh on his stamped card, it's not even his sentencing, it's not his name, and it says the injustice being, charged is force sensitivity.
Holy shit, that's crazy. That's crazy. That can't be an accident.
Well, what the does it mean?
I mean, they showed her, she was like eating pistachios or something.
Yeah, pistachios.
So it's like she was clearly distracted, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Here we go, 6 month sentence, 6 years.
Yeah. So I wonder if all of this, he will end up playing to his advantage, and that's how he breaks out of prison, or they all break out of prison. And that scene that we get with they're in their white uniforms.
Yes,
I'm assuming that has to do with this.
Yes, I think so too. That's crazy. Well, it also makes sense too that like Yularen was saying that they were tripling sentences. Clearly 6 months to 6 years is not tripling a sentence. So it's almost like the woman and then the man who said 6 years, whoever that guy was off to the side, it's like they were like looking at different paperwork or something,
Yes.
And that's why even Cassian was like, 6 years? What?
Yeah, and they have a line of people to get through. Let's move them through. They don't care. She's busy eating her peanuts, whatever. And like stamp the wrong thing.
Yeah, oh, that's really interesting. I can't wait to see how that plays out.
Somebody interpreted all this. It was not me.
I completely agree with you on all of this, though. Like, everything was super abrupt. Changing to that sequence was abrupt, and then everything within the sequence was abrupt. How he was, like, with a woman in bed, and then he was walking on the beach, and then suddenly was under arrest, and then went to prison. Like, it all happened in like a 2-minute period. And like you, I was like, are we seeing a flashback? Like, what the is going on right here?
Well, then it went right to Cyril sitting in his own prison, if you will, doing data entry or whatever the that is.
The guy hates
and
his
so
life
I had
so much.
He hates Uncle Harlow, whoever the he is, we still don't know, did not come through.
Well, he gave him the chance to clean his slate, but definitely...
Which he did.
Oh, my God.
He did get his slate cleaned. The guy just wiped it out.
Yeah.
Well, they don't know about that, so let's just get rid of it. Must be nice. Why couldn't they do it for Cassian? Like,
well, he doesn't have an Uncle Harlow, I guess. I loved the scene between Cyril and his mother because she's sitting there and is like, are you going to wear that? Like, what are you wearing? She's wearing almost an identical outfit to him.
Right? Like, wow. You're going to tell me about my collar while I sit here and eat my Cocoa Puffs? What did you make of him getting up about the Aldani thing? Do you think he connected it to what went on Ferrix with
I would guess,
Cassian?
Yeah, like something about it triggered in his mind, but we don't know what it is yet.
He is going to end up going to Deidre. He's going to find a way to get to her.
I think you're right. I really do. I think you're right because where did they place him? Wasn't it something about fuel consumption or something like that?
Maybe.
He got, like, his job sounds like nightmare, but...
He's going to go in there and use that to his advantage and look things up.
He's probably going to see something, and then he and Deidre are going to just be the perfect nightmare team up.
Yeah. People are saying, they're saying they're going to hook up and stuff. I don't see it. He's too stiff.
No.
And I know that she's stiff, but she at least has, like, standards.
Honestly, she, to me, seems like the kind of woman who has no time for that anyway.
No, she's too busy being fabulous.
Yes, and fabulous. Yeah. All at the same time.
If that bun got any tighter.
Oh my God. Seriously.
I mean, I kind of want to ask. I want to ask the actress, did it hurt? When they pinned back.
If it did, you'd play into it.
Yes.
Yes. You'd be like, "Moo,
go on,
make
pin
it tighter.
Back tighter."
Yes. You know, make me look surprised.
Instant facelift. Wow. She's a beautiful woman. She has the most gorgeous eyes, and she has that perfectly stiff, like, mouth.
Yes. Yes. It's like a straight pinched line.
Yeah, it's like she has pucker mouth, like she's constantly off and disappointed in everything. She's the perfect Empire person.
Yeah, she's thriving is what she's doing. She's where she belongs. she is living her best life.
She's 35 thriving with a bun that no one else could do, not even Padme herself.
Oh my God. I love her boss. I love that character. He is so interesting. When she's talking about how the sector lines don't make any sense and the rebels don't give a shit about where you draw the lines. And she's saying it right to the guy's face who drew those lines. And then he just says, "Thesis, please."
Yes. And in fact, it was like a tennis match, kind of in the way that they filmed it.
Yes.
Like back, forth, back to the guy, then to Deidre, then to the other guy, then back to Deidre, then the other guy. Like, you know. And she counterpointed every point that was made, and she had facts to back it up. She's like a lawyer. Like,
yes.
She's a damn good lawyer.
I loved that they made her boss intelligent enough to listen to her, even though she was insulting him. Because that's what makes a person like that very ruthless, is that they're not blinded by their anger. They're taking all the things in, they're absorbing it, and then they take the most important pieces and use it to their advantage, and he can see that she's going to be an asset and that she's not busy squabbling like the other guy who is in charge of Ferrix. She's actually putting like connecting dots. He says, find evidence. She finds evidence. I love her character. I love it.
And then he says, watch your back.
Yes.
You know, little friendly advice. Yep. Watch your back. It's like, I'm pretty sure that's what they're all doing in that bit of a room, you know?
I also wondered, okay, I didn't catch it the first time, but the second time I watched it, they keep showing that like really pale, thin guy who has like a red mustache in these
Yes, I
meetings.
feel bad for him.
I do
He
too.
seems like he's not living his best life.
No, but I wonder if he's a spy.
Oh.
Because they kept saying that.
Do we have a mole? And whose mole is it? I'm just thinking of Austin Powers now. Are you? With the mole?
Just when I cut it up and turn it into guacamole. Oh man, I love that movie.
Sorry.
Because they keep showing him, even though he doesn't really do anything, but every time they show him, they're saying that, like, you're behind on your reports. Why aren't your detention levels up to everybody else's? Like, is it because he's spying, so he's not, like, paying attention to doing his work? Or is he just incompetent? I don't know. It just kind of caught my attention, so.
That's a really good pickup. I never thought of that. I just thought they used him as, like, instead of diving right into the other two main characters at the round table, they'd soften it with him. But
they don't do that.
Everything is on purpose in this show.
Exactly. Well, and to that point, somebody mentioned that Maarva makes the point of saying to Cassian, stop looking for your sister, unprompted out of nowhere. And people were saying,
yeah, that was sad.
It's sad, but like, why? Does she know what happened to his sister? They wouldn't bring it up without a reason. So I am assuming it's because he's either going to find out what happens to her.
Yeah.
Some people were saying maybe he'll discover her in prison, which would be very far-fetched. Like, that would be a crazy coincidence if that happened. But
I don't know. She did follow it up with saying it wasn't any of your fault. It was never the kids' fault. It wasn't their fault what happened to those kids.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that they all died.
Yeah.
It could mean that they all got captured, imprisoned, turned into empire, whatever, slaves, something.
We have no idea.
So maybe she said, don't try to find your sister because it's a dead end because you can't turn her back anyway. If you do find her, she's in a position that you're not going to like.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's kind of how I took it more, that not that she's dead, but because what you discover is only going to hurt you more.
I mean, they just had a conversation about what love can do.
Yes.
And then she says, and by the way, don't look for your sister.
Right. To throw it on there.
To imply that she's dead seems too final for something that started the series. They started the series with him looking for her. He's going to end up finding her, and it's not going to be good.
Yes.
It's just not.
Well, that's the thing. We're like narrowing our prospects here of like what's going to force him to like really believe in the rebel cause. And I'm really scared because it's going to be, I'm sure, something terrible happening to Maarva and B, which I cannot watch it. It's going to just crush me.
Nope, I'm turning off.
And or his sister. Because he says to Jin, you're not the only one who lost everything. And he hasn't lost everything yet.
Not yet.
Star Wars is pain.
Star Wars is pain.
It's so good, though.
It's really good.
Our listener questions are Vel and that woman related? Is that the Crimson Dawn symbol?
Yes. What else do you think that we missed about this questionable scene? Not questionable, but curious scene.
Yeah. Also, is Cassian Force sensitive? Is Maarva gonna be okay?
Please tell us everything you think. We want to know because we want to know. Next week's episode, holy shit, Tales of the Jedi is finally here.
Woo, 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 woo.
We're going to talk about as much of it as we can if we can get it all in one episode. If not, we'll split it into two. Mm-hmm. But we're going to do our best. They're short. They're bound to be amazing. And we cannot wait. Join us back next week. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Most Things Kenobi podcast. We appreciate every single one of our patrons and are grateful for your support. And they give one a birthday present.
Aw.
Just saying. If you would like to be part of this crew, this amazing crew, and would like to support the podcast and become a patron, head on over to the Most Things Kenobi Patreon. And as always, you can follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast player. If you enjoy it, feel free to rate us on Spotify and Apple. We appreciate it. And if you need just one place to find all of these, head over to our amazing website, mostthingsKenobi.com.
So until next time, my space twin, may the Force be with you.
Always.